Once again, we return to the I Read Comic Books Patreon exclusive mini-series. There's going to be a lot of episodes of this. There are a lot of issues of The Wicked and the Divine uncovered with Tia and Kara. And we're going to be talking today about the rest of Arc 1, so issues 2 through 5.
So we skipped over the plot a little bit for the first issue because it really is just like, okay, full spoilers, but Lucifer, our David Bowie-esque devil, ends up popping the heads off some would-be assassins of the gods and is now paying for her crimes in jail. And Laura, our non-god protagonist, is the only one who's really helping her. And in her quest to help Lucy, she goes literally underground to find the gods of the underworld, the Morrigan and Baphomet. And Lucy is really not cool with being in jail, as you might expect from Lucifer, but is mostly just staying put because she's been told to by Ananke, the mysterious kind of manager / overseer of the gods. And when Lucifer finally gets fed up and breaks out of jail, Ananke is there to pop her head off, which was personally heartbreaking because Lucifer was my favorite character from the get-go, and for her to not be there after the first arc was really devastating for me. So, but the cliffhanger for the end of this arc that I remember reading so vividly, Tia, is that Laura is like at home alone watching the news, and she's really upset, and she's like in the darkness, and she like snaps her fingers in the way that the gods do to like manifest flame or to pop somebody's head off, and the end of her cigarette lights, and she just stares at the glimmering embers on the tip of the cigarette until they fade into darkness. And scene.
Excellent summary. And just as a reminder, this is not a show where we're going to talk a lot about the plot. We're mostly focused on the covers and the art. So you should just read the books.
But we do have a short summary so that we can kind of orient to where we are in the story and the art that we're talking about. But what was the main cover for the start of this arc, Tia?
So we are the headshot, the Jamie Matt headshot carries through for the main cover. And so we have Amaterasu as issue 2 headshot. And when I think it was when the Amaterasu cover came out and she has the same sort of like color lighting effects all around her, I realized, oh, it's like the aesthetic manifestation of the god's powers.
Because she's the sun.
Yeah. And then so the color, like the color story on these covers is like just as important as any other part of the art, and I actually love that for Matt Wilson. And I feel I like to hope that like Matt Wilson's amazing color powers helps to like elevate the role of colorist in the minds of comic book people, because they really deserve their flowers.
And there were a few different color variations for this one where it was the same image but a different color or section was emphasized with color.
The black and white one for the second printing, where only her makeup is in color, it again same as the one they did for Laura and one for Lucy. It really drives home that like you're not special, your persona is what is special.
Brutal for a performing artist.
And then there was a cool San Diego Comic-Con cover that was like it was color, but it was like the Bengay dots because comics. So
gotta get back to the roots.
I think you brought me that back from that San Diego Comic-Con. Somebody did, because I didn't go to that one, but I have it.
It's very possible. I do love this cover. I do love Amaterasu's aesthetic, and her makeup in this cover in particular definitely inspired the makeup that I did. The one time I went to the Pride Parade in New York City, I did my makeup kind of like a cool toned version of Amaterasu. It was like kind of halfway between Laura's Amaterasu gig makeup and actual Amaterasu makeup. And it was just really fun to do. Like, I'm just going to color this whole half of my eyeball face.
The irony of picking the only straight god to do for the Pride Parade.
How was I to know? I just assumed they all were gay.
Yet. Yeah. So then there was another Jamie variant, which is Lucy as David Bowie's mugshot, which is a very famous rock and roll photograph of when he got arrested in somewhere like Rochester, Pennsylvania. I don't know, somewhere up in there for drugs. And I feel angry now looking back at this because it's such a missed opportunity to have done a variant cover series of all the gods as famous rock star photos.
Could it have worked for all of them though?
Yes. Yes, it could. And I say that because I was doing con commissions where I was buying art from people and I was asking them to do the gods as a famous work from art history. Mm-hmm. Like, there's always a way. There's always a way to find it.
I believe.
Yeah.
I believe. I enjoy my note for this one that I forgot that I wrote that I will now read verbatim, but shocking no one, I was obsessed with Lucy, devastated by the finale of this arc, and this mugshot clarifies my deep gay crush on her.
Oh man, it's like, same. Everyone had a deep gay crush on Lucy. Everyone was absolutely howling at the moon when her head blew up, and I love that the real life rock star photograph moment was such a like perfect overlay on that story beat. Mm-hmm. And then there was one more variant cover for issue 2, which is the Chip Zdarsky variant that I think it's just trolling Kieran and Jamie. It's like a close up of it's like a quote unquote headshot of them, and Kieran has like Bowie makeup and Jamie has One Direction on his forehead, and it's very silly. And I feel like this was really the golden age of like performative social media inside jokes and fan parasocial relationships with them, because there was like a group of writers and artists and comics who were just like the mayors of Twitter, and then like everybody in comics who as a fan was just like so excited to be in on these inside jokes that were happening on Twitter
because it felt like you were part of it.
Yeah,
like you were getting closer to the pantheon. Yeah,
exactly. No, it's like perfect for this series.
Yeah, but you're right, this was totally like you had to be very online in comics. There's probably like a couple hundred people who would have understood why this cover even happened.
Yeah. And there are more where this came from. Like the inside jokes and the variant covers are really fun. But yeah, you definitely had to be an online comics person. Mm-hmm. So in issue 3, the Matt Jamie cover is the Morrigan headshot.
My favorite.
I know, but like LOL because of the story. Also, when Baphomet shows up with her head to prank all of her fans.
Yeah. It's like the cover is the Morrigan looking at you head on, ha 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 ha, and then you open the book and the first page is that same exact head in the same exact placement, except it's clearly not attached to a body and the eyes are rolling back in the head and the mouth is open, so it's like distorted a little bit, and it's like all a gag. It's Baphomet having a macabre sense of humor, but the non-beheaded version, the cover version, oh my god, this was my phone wallpaper lock screen for years. I was so obsessed with this image. I love the colors, I love the aesthetics. Like, she was not one of my favorite gods, but like, oh man, this image literally came with me everywhere.
Yeah, I feel like as a god, she was hard to like relate to or connect with, but then in the issue much later where we see the kind of their lives as people before they ascend, I felt like it was easier to connect to her as Marion.
But that shows you how, like, they are gods. Like we were
Right.
saying,
Yeah.
we were touching on the idea of, like, are they faking it? And that kind of otherworldliness or disconnect from humanity, it's you can sense it. You can see it.
And, you know, going back to what we were saying in the last episode, I'm going to mix up those words the entire time we do this series. But in the first episode, we talked about how it's very vague, like what actually happens at these gods' performances. It's never really answered. You know, we kind of say pop star, so we assume music, but that's not actually what's happening. And so there's another Jamie variant for issue 3, and it's Lucy giving a performance, and it's very pop starry. I'm not like, I really can't tell if like they're really trying to drive home Lucy as a main character to just like twist the knife before we get to the finale, or if this is Jamie's favorite character. It doesn't feel like this image like fits into the story necessarily, and so I just get the impression that this is just like a cool image to like make us like Lucy more as a pop star.
And the thing, like, I hadn't seen this variant cover before doing this show with you, and it's just so much more energy and movement than we see from Lucy when she's just like hanging around and being in jail. And so like she's just in like much more dynamic poses, and she's got makeup and jewelry on, and so that's kind of telling me that she's adding layers onto her performance, that even though she's got like a pared down base aesthetic as her god persona, she does put more decorations and more like energy on when she's in front of a crowd.
And we don't get a Lucy performance in story, so this is sort of, I guess, making up for that a little bit. And then the queen herself, Stephanie Hans, does a variant for issue 3 of an Amaterasu performance, and it's beautiful, it's luscious, it's giving Florence and the Machine. Stephanie Hans is the queen of covers in comics as far as I'm concerned.
It's luminous. It's a luminous cover.
It really is, yeah. And so on to issue 4, which is the ball headshot, and we get lightning as the aesthetic manifestation of his powers.
And this is another issue where you've got the god's head on the cover, and then you open to the first page, and it's the same god's head, but something slightly different. So your eye is like, oh, there's like a little jump. You're seeing his head in like a fresco version, because Laura's visiting the Pantheon, and he's just like, yeah, like here's me, I'm on the wall, this is my like mural of myself. And I always interpreted Ball as like a version of Kanye West, and so my note for this was, wow, remember when Kanye West was less problematic?
I know. Yeah. I think, though, for issue 4, so this is the first issue where we only have 2 covers, the main Jamie Matt and then 1 variant, and it's possibly my favorite variant of the series.
Really? Okay.
The Kevin Wada variant of the Goths, of Morgan and Baphomet side by side on the cover, and Morgan's right side up and Baphomet's upside down, and there's a skull with horns in the middle, and one horn is pointing up and one horn is pointing down, and there's kind of like blood. Like Baphomet clearly has a bloody lip, and then there's a little blood splatter on the skull, and there's a few splatters on Morgan's face. I'm guessing she slapped him. No jury would convict.
No one could falter.
He had it come. No, yeah. So, Kevin Wada is also like the king of variant covers, right? Like him and Stephanie Haas, like they have the thrones here. the fashion is always beautiful and spectacular and really creative, but there's also just something almost velvety about Kevin Wada variants. Like, you want to pet it. Right? Like, his watercolor style painting is so sensual, and it's so, and not necessarily just as like sexy, although it is sexy,
right?
But it's like, you want to touch it, you want to like rub it on your face.
It's like tactile.
Yes, thank you. And I think that's a really interesting way to romanticize the physicality of Morgan and Baphomet's relationship, which is actually very hard-edged and fighty and murderous, and so like this depiction of it makes it seem really like grand and dramatic in an epic romance sort of way.
Yeah, this one was like, when I saw it, my brain said, "Oh, the Lover's card from Tarot."
Yes. I think that like my brain didn't immediately go there, but now that you've pointed that out, I think that's like a perfect way to think of it.
But then I was looking at various like versions of that card, and it seems like usually the lovers are like on their heads are on the same level, like they're looking at each other, or at least standing next to one another. So I was like, oh, it's like the lovers, but inverted, and they're not on the same page, and they're not seeing eye to eye, and he's like descending further than her.
Also, like, he has a leather jacket kind of slung over his shoulders, but I swear it looks like a Dracula cape.
It's definitely a cape. That is the correct interpretation as far as I'm concerned.
So he's like hanging upside down like a Dracula bat.
With his little pointy fangs. Yeah.
With his little pointy fangs and his like glorious chest all out there for the world. And, I wrote this whole screed on Tumblr ages ago. I should go find it and like link it in the show notes, that basically talks about the duality of their relationship, and the way that I think the Morrigan doesn't want Baphomet as a partner. She wants to be him in a way that is inaccessible to her as a feminine presenting person, because for a feminine presenting person to be that brazenly don't give a fuck like masculine swagger, like that, it's inherently political for a woman to behave that way. And so it like undercuts the whole like I guess like carefreeness of it. So I think that she's really jealous of him and his masculinity and the freedom that it affords him, and I think that's why she's like so rageful towards him. And
how does this layer in with her three personas? Because she's one of the she's a, would we call it like a three-faced goddess, or
yeah,
like that kind of dynamic. There, like, she is the Morrigan, but she's also Gentle Annie, and
I think you say it Babe,
and Babe is like the like really angry, like her hair is big and red, and she comes out when there's a need to be aggressive. And
she's
Gentle,
the war goddess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if part of this is like the Morrigan can express herself through the dramatic poles of these other personas, because Gentle Annie is like, I think, more associated with death and like peace and calmness, and so she's got like these two very extreme other personas that can come out of her when needed, or it could just be her, and she seems like the persona that has things the most together. Feels like the wrong word, but she's like in charge, more or less.
Yeah, she's the brain of the operation.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, yeah, because like the blood in the cover is clearly Baphomet's blood, and what you know about them up to this point in the story, it's pretty safe to assume that she drew that blood.
It looks like it's on his hand, so it's like, where is, like, where?
I think it's on his hand because it's like dripping down.
Oh,
I could be wrong. That's how I interpreted it. I don't know.
I don't know.
You said something about her top, though, that I thought was really interesting.
Oh, yeah. So she's got Baphomet's shirtless and Morgan is almost shirtless. Like she's wearing a black bra or bikini top. But then there's this like really intricate, like a jewelry or like a golden lace overlay on that top. And I looked at it and it suggested like an armor. Like even though the whole thing is so flimsy and see-through and it's not actually armor, it's like she's literally covering her neck and her chest with this physical like barrier and shield. So that to me suggested that she was like protecting her heart, like didn't want to be vulnerable, but at the same time she's like her hand is over Baphomet's heart and like reaching toward his neck. So it's kind of like somebody wants to be in control here.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's got this like, really smarmy grin on his face. And she looks like almost like she's sneering.
Stern.
Like she's like pissed. Like her expression is anger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these two. Nice.
Very close read, very dark colors, very like it's moody. It's moody and sensual.
The goths. And so in issue 5, we finally see the famous Tara
Fucking
in
Tara.
the headshot. Yes. And it's interesting, like Tara's like such a story point, but we have not seen her yet. And so then it's sort of like, here she is, headshot, issue 5.
Yeah. She was, I remember vividly reading this series month to month when it was coming out for the first few arcs and being like, oh my God, who is this Tara girl everyone keeps talking about? And like, what do you mean I get to see her on the cover without getting to meet her? But it's like from the start, people are referencing her as fucking Tara. Like she's clearly not hanging out with the Pantheon. She's doing her own thing. There's this impression of her being like stuck up or aloof maybe, or like too, like some of the descriptions of outfits that she was wearing suggested Lady Gaga, because there was a reference to a meat dress and I was like, I see what you did there.
But really all she wants to do is like make her art.
She's just doing her thing. But like
the pretension of it all. Yes.
Like I realized that we saw an image of her in issue 3 when Laura's going to the underground to find the Morrigan and Baphomet, and like the posters lining the escalator down into the underground are all posters of Tara, and I think it's basically the same image as this cover. So it's kind of like we already saw her, now we're seeing her front and center, but we still don't have the satisfaction of knowing anything concrete about her. But and then like when we finally get to her, you feel like an asshole for kind of going along with the whole like, yeah, fucking Tara. So it's like it's kind of like the cover and the story and the way that they're dropping these little hints. They're like making you part of like the bad assumptions about her. It's like, oh, it's so subversive, because then you feel like implicated in your grossness of how you've been treating her when you finally get to her. So
yeah,
good.
when you get to her issue, you're like, oh shit, it's me. I'm the problem. Also, I think it's interesting that she gets this headshot without the mask that is kind of like a part of her performances that she wears. Like you actually see her face and her eyes.
Mm-hmm. She's not hiding in this one. She's being vulnerable.
Well, half her hair is covering half her face, I guess, but it's like flipped over. Oh, the mid 2000s or 2010s deep side part hair flip over. Actually, fun fact, like my hair naturally parts in the center, and around this time I had to like train my hair to side part. I had to like every night I would like wet it down and put pins in it to try to get it to stay down.
Oh man,
I know.
That is dedication. You must have been so relieved when Gen Z was like, no, Chuji.
Yes. Yes. So for the variant, there's two variants again here. And the first one I want to talk about is the Jamie one, because it's Sekhmet. And interestingly, she never gets a full-on headshot in the series. I hear they're doing one in the Kickstarter book as a to make up for it, I guess. So by the time this comes out, it's probably there. But in this Jamie variant, the Sekhmet cover, it's like a profile headshot of her, and then behind her is lion roaring, which is like the regular head-on headshots. It's sort of a aesthetic manifestation of her powers. So I have so many questions about this. Like, was this another prototype and then they didn't use this motif because it was for some reason just not going to work out or whatever? I'm fascinated. I think that technically she did get a headshot and it was this, but it's a variant cover, so maybe people don't think it counts. I don't know. What do you think?
I did not notice that she never got a headshot cover, but now I also am mad that she did not. But yeah, the profile is I really like this profile because I get to remember having hair like this because, as you remember, this was the era when a lot of enough people in pop culture were doing shave one side of your head and have the rest of it fall long. And
you can say Rihanna.
Because
it's Sekhmet.
it is Sekhmet, but also I'm thinking of oh my god, what's her face in one of the Hunger Games movies? She was the camera lady. She had that haircut
Natalie
too.
Dormer.
Yeah, she had that haircut. The whole Vikings TV show,
yes.
All of them had some version of that. This was recurring in a lot of nerdier spaces as well as in music. So I had this haircut because I worked at Comixology and it didn't matter how my hair looked. So I got to indulge in that one. And let me tell you, it's a pain in the ass to maintain. So it was fun while it lasted, but that is it.
After 2 years, you're yes, thank you. Please explode my head. I can't keep this undercut up anymore.
No, but something that I really like about this is all the gold elements of this, the organic goldness of it all, and her more graphic but firm, clear lined eye makeup and the sharp lines of her ears. I don't know. It just, all the gold and the black made me think Art Deco. And that reminded me of the way opening of issue 1 is sort of a prologue where we catch a glimpse of the end of the 1920s recurrence. And so I saw this and I was oh yeah, we started this story in the 20s. It makes sense that they would do a sort of deco-y thing. It's giving Gatsby.
The art historian in me is going to point out that deco is slightly more 30s, but we're going to fudge the numbers for the aesthetics of this book.
Thank you.
And also, yes, Egyptian revival was really big in that era. If you go to any old cemeteries, especially a lot of cemetery architecture is Egyptian revival, because people then were just the Egyptians, they knew what was up when you died. They were super goth. So you see it everywhere in cemeteries from that period.
I was going to say, I know that one because the people who live in Highclere Castle where Downton Abbey is shot bankrolled Howard Carter's Tutankhamun exhibition. So
oh, cool.
I'm very familiar with all that.
Love it. And then the last variant cover that we need to discuss from this arc is the Becky Cloonan variant, which is the Goths falling. And you know that because Babe's glorious red hair that's practically its own character is flying upwards.
Streaming.
Yes. And it's, if you're not paying close attention, you're who's Baphomet with on this cover? And then you see her tattoos and you're okay, I guess that's okay.
Tattoos.
Yes. Although, Morgan does make a lot of references to him being a cheater. So you could, I wonder at this point, if Morgan is jealous of when he has relations with other of her
other selves.
triplicate goddess selves. So
you can't see me, but my jaw has dropped. Oh shit.
The look on her face, though, like she looks like she is. I just thought of the line in the song "The Bolter." He was a cad, wanted her bad, just like any good trophy hunter. And she likes the way it tastes, taming a bear, making him care, watching him jump, then pulling him under.
Tia, literally, I was just going to say, this is Taylor Swift looking at Maddie Healy.
It's so true. And you know what? Anyone who thinks Taylor Swift doesn't have it in her to be the goddess of war has never listened to Reputation.
I think I was just surprised with this one to see like Babe on a cover, because I wasn't expecting to see the Morgans like alter personas featured on a variant. But I love this. This was around the time that Becky Cloonan did By Chance or By Providence. So I associated her art at the time with this like black and white, gothic, creepy, like slightly unsettling nature bound vibe. So I really, really love that she got to do a variant for the goths.
Also, I'm looking at it and I'm like, do you guys have blood on your faces again? Like, stop biting each other. The colors here I love too. I think that yellow is a really unconventional choice for the goths, but it just makes them stand out so much. And in terms of like being a cover on a stand with a bunch of other comics, it's definitely going to draw people to it.
It's giving atomic explosion. It's the end of the world. They're falling into the abyss, and the abyss is blowing up around them.
So which one's your favorite so far, would you say?
Ooh. It might be boring, but I have to go with the Jamie McKelvey, Matt Wilson, Morgan headshot, because it was just I looked at it multiple times a day for at least 2 years. So
you know what I have to say, and Kara's boyfriend, like, just don't listen to this part, but I can really see how you would relate to her iciness and the very like business like way she manages her rage.
Yeah.
Not necessarily towards her boyfriend, but also that.
Towards the world.
Towards the world, yeah.
It's fine. I just have a lot of feelings to you. This is why Raphael is my favorite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
But, like, do you have a babe in you? Yeah, you do.
Yeah, but then don't we all, Tia? Don't we all have a side of us that just, like, I don't have niceness left. I only have rage.
I mean, some of us lead with that, is, I think, what the difference is here. Yeah, I mean, good call. And my favorite, of course, is the Kevin Wada velvet painting. Yes,
it is gorgeous. I fully see why you love that one, and it was really delightful to analyze with you.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Wic+Div Uncovered.
I'm Kara Szymborski here with Tia Vasiliou. We want to thank Brian Murray for proof listening with us. We want to thank Zander Riggs for coming out from his underground to edit this episode. And we'd like to thank Mike for supporting us and leaving us alone to record this. Until next time, comics are good, and so are you. And thank you for supporting us on Patreon.